besides
other things. Were you back in? George?
I gotta start recording, I was just admitting those guys to start recording. I mean, they don't, okay, so resume.
Recording in progress.
Okay.
Is the stream going?
I'm gonna,
Yes.
oh, okay.
So those just joining us, John and I, but we're still working on the previous project on the agenda, so we'll be up with you shortly.
We just came out of executive session. I'm gonna re-ask the question of sewage. So you've got sewage in your site plan review. It's been through the Army Corps of Engineers, Department of Health, you know, every.
So
alphabet
Army
soup
Corps
in
of
the state.
Engineers, whenever I was negotiating for purchase of land, I did a wetland delineation just to see.
Uh-huh.
And there's like 30 acres of wetland.
Okay,
So we have been working with all the appropriate agencies to fully delineate that, did the phase one environmental, did the archaeology review.
but the biggest thing through the village and the town, you got a neg deck, you've got your sewage approved, you got your outfall at the right amount. It's not underestimated, okay, because that has actually been a huge problem with several places.
I mean, it took me 12 to 15 months on some of those things.
You're lucky. 2 years is probably about normal.
So Casey, how far along are you in construction? What stage, where are you at in construction?
I am now pushing towards closing on the SBA loan. I'm working with Pursuit Lending and Watertown Savings Bank. Hopefully we close on that loan in October, and then we restart construction. I've done everything except
Okay, you haven't begun construction, the actual physical construction.
we have started physical construction. I've done all the underlay. I'm trying to do everything before it freezes.
So you do
And
like infrastructure, not physical buildings,
yeah, road, gravel, footers,
site plan.
things like that.
So you have all of your permits you set in place. Go
The
ahead.
building, you haven't started a building?
No.
The parcel, it's one big parcel that's all been assembled, and you will own it as soon as you finish your closing.
I own the land already.
You already own the
I've
land,
purchased
okay.
it.
I missed that point, sorry. And that, you said it was around 60 or 65 acres?
60 acres.
Okay.
It's about 1,200 feet of waterfront, but the waterfront's it's flat rock for like hundreds of feet out in the cove, so you can walk out there. It's really cool.
So if all you're doing right now is site prep, you haven't started building yet, we could look at considering a pilot payment of tax agreement as well, which would save you on your property taxes and your sales tax.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and mortgage recording tax,
So,
because he is doing a mortgage too.
so I can talk to you in more detail about that. I'll ask you to get the application too. We need to get something in from you right away, so board, because once the board does the initial resolution, we have to do a public hearing, and then we have to bring it back to the board for full.
And the downfall is you cannot start any construction. If you're interested in a pilot, we're not supposed to get pilots after you start construction.
Yeah, I already started the infrastructure, not the.
That,
okay.
that is okay,
Site
that's not
work.
construction, site work's okay, roads, pipes,
Yeah.
electric, all that doesn't.
And no walls are up.
Yeah, if you were digging a foundation, laying block walls, you're probably,
And if you're not planning to begin until October.
Figure something out.
Get something.
but if as long as it's not gonna hold up your tentative plans of being able to get slabs in or
I was a
walls.
little surprised along the way that someone hasn't mentioned that to you.
What's that?
The
The
pilot.
ability to have a pilot through our agency and it's can save you a considerable amount of money going forward.
Thank you.
So,
Amazing.
yeah, work with
Christmas.
Dave and see,
Yeah,
you know,
Dave can walk you through the three tiers, you get sales tax abatement, you get mortgage recording tax, abatement, and then you get, property tax abatement. Wow. If you qualify for all of those three.
Which is
It sounds like
a tourism destination of what?
Yeah, it would definitely. You may have no sales tax anyway on majority of things.
well,
But insurance are a plus. I guess back to, so we got this application, where did we leave off, Dave?
so we're looking at $112,500 at 5%.
Amortized 20 years, balloon 5, right?
Yeah,
That's what I wrote down.
with a 5-year balloon amortized over 20 years.
And the other question, if you want to mirror or not, it's up to you. You had 6 months interest only that the NCA is doing.
Yeah, hey, on this one here, it's, I think a mistake, it says 1%.
Well, so that-
5
The
everywhere
write-up
else.
there, we should have done a rewrite.
Okay.
So that is the tourism transformation fund.
Okay.
Tourism projects.
So this is really,
This is-
this
that's
is
not ours.
informational.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
special 1%.
Well, I knew this was ours
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
the right format, but I saw 1%,
Yeah.
unless it is meant to be 1%.
No, that's for that particular fund.
Okay,
But then down below, you see where we.
yeah, it says 5 everywhere
and
else.
the terms
Yeah,
of exit.
I saw
So
that.
we're looking at,
There are multiple funds involved in that. So the tourism fund, North Country Economic Development Fund. So that it's like, some of those assumptions were run by Michelle as well. So
okay. But we're looking at interest only for 6 months, correct? That's with the NCA and us?
Yeah, for our portion,
Okay.
if you're interested in mirroring their NCA terms.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Is NCA okay with the 5-year and the balloon drive?
yeah, we've been working with, and the reason we too had to do that was for UDC funds, essentially to Empire State Development. And Cindy's been approving 5-year terms with longer extended amortizations, just to allow for flexibility with payments. And so I have had previous projects approved,
Okay.
at the 10-year amortizations, but it's
So that second paragraph will have a little bit of a rewrite.
Yep.
So we're gonna approve the loan, whereas 112, amortized for 20 years, 5-year balloon, rate of 5%, interest only, excuse me, it does already say construction, interest only, not to exceed, you said 6 months, this says 12. This is not to exceed
Not to
6.
exceed, but we're going with 6.
Okay. Not to exceed 6. Interest and term out over loan, 240 months, 5-year balloon, again, we gotta mention that. Coastal portion, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, the rest of the stuff appears to be unchanged.
And just as a note, the North Country Alliance does do the key man life insurance and the amount of our portion of the $112,500. I have my meeting tomorrow, to review this actually. So, but I have reviewed it with, Brian Blackman, our home review committee chair, previous to setting out.
Okay. It kind of infers it in the first paragraph, should we be more affirmative that loan participation with North Country Alliance, that it's contingent that they do approve it? I know it infers that, but is that not something we've done in the past, Dave? I mean, I don't care if we do it on our own if they, I mean, it doesn't sound like they're not going to.
Well, they've been our lead, so we,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wasn't sure if you wanted that in the resolution.
Steve, do we need to put the key man life insurance requirement in the resolution, or is that something we just make part of the commitment letter?
I think that is something I do have part of the write-up, the resolution.
Yeah, it should be in our resolution.
And it is contingent on all of the other funding, so you, as well as all the other, even the National Good Grant, ESD funding, and the bank and pursuit.
So key man life insurance, and then conditioned upon all the other funding sources. Did you, I know you're a guest, but did you have any questions? You live in the area, so I figured you might.
Very close.
Um,
I live on 3 Mile Point.
What's
I
that?
said I live on 3 Mile Point.
Oh, okay. You've probably seen some activity over there.
I have.
But Dave, I will make a motion after we've made a couple modifications, which I'm not gonna really repeat all of them. We've done it, so
Yeah, we've done
Kilman,
it.
the conditioned upon other interest only 6 months, 5-year balloon. I'll make a motion to accept the modified resolution you present to the full board.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll prepare that for the board.
I agree.
Okay?
So that will go to the
I guess
full board on
Well, we don't
next
really,
Thursday.
if we both agreed, we don't have to do the all in favor, huh? We get to flip flop. I'm the chair of the full board, so this is a committee to do like an audit of your, as you call it, sharpshoot. We get to criticize everything, and then the full board gets to,
Do it again.
well,
Sometimes, but
Sometimes.
usually they defer to the judgment. of the
Yeah.
committee.
Do I need to attend that session as well?
It's up to you. There are 7 people in the full board, IDA. There may be questions that weren't asked today. And there also may be an executive session that you might have to disclose some information again. What's it, the 7th or the 9th? It's
First.
First. Okay, I thought that was an error.
Thursday.
Well, I had that show up on my calendar. I'm like, I thought that was an error. 'Cause for some reason, I don't know why.
It's Thursday.
Yeah, but I thought because of the holiday, when's Labor Day? It's coming up. Peggy, every day is Monday.
Well,
I'm just telling you, it's like,
JCIDA Loan's
I
meeting first
just
at
booked a
8.
trip that night.
Well, IDA starts a little bit later. You could zoom in if you needed to.
yeah, you don't have to attend in person.
I'll be out of town.
That's
If
fine.
you have the ability
It's not
to,
necessary, yeah, if you.
it's not, it really isn't
I'll
necessary.
zoom in.
Yeah. We'll make sure you have the link.
Yeah, you can follow up with them, Dave.
And I'll follow, are you available later this morning?
Yes,
Okay, well, what's your phone number?
315-408-9509. 9509.
Is Marshall here?
All right, okay, all right.
Is Marshall here?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say if he could go,
Yeah.
get off with.
I'll give you a call
Marshall,
before the meeting.
That's the reason I'm here.
Oh.
Not down there.
I just thought you were learning the computer.
That too.
Got it down.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in this morning.
Thanks, Casey.
Thank you for having me, everybody.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I hope you have a good day, and it's even nice to meet you in person.
Nice meeting you as well.
Yes, take care.
Thanks, sir.
Nice meeting you. Oh, yeah, solar. This is just informational, they wanna,
They want to do a reassignment. Steve, you want to cover this?
Sure, so yeah, again, just kind of the typical scenario here. As you guys know, this hasn't closed on the pilot yet. What they're looking to do is, in connection with certain financing, they're going to be restructuring the ownership of the LLC. So what they're going to be doing is essentially just transferring the membership interests to the S&E there. And I think what they're doing, based on my conversations with Justin, is they're going to fast track this. That, you know, once we get approval for the actual assignment, I think the closing on pilot and everything will be simultaneously or shortly thereafter. So, you know, nothing earth shattering here, just kind of the typical assignment request.
Okay. Dave, more of it, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. Because the legal costs are paid for as part of the
Yeah.
pilot, this will just kind of like go on the bill, right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
Since we have, I was gonna ask,
It'll be part of the
if we had
final
closed, I
yeah.
wasn't sure how we're gonna collect the legal costs, but like
Right.
this is just part of the,
Right.
what we'll call the original pilot, that'll then simultaneously be reassigned once we close the original document.
Yeah, and Steve, we'll need to bring this for a formal resolution for the board meeting next week, right? So Justin and Steve will get us a resolution.
Okay. Okay,
You want to advance?
perfect.
page 41 in our packet. Wilma. TV LLC.
And then we have a couple folks here from RIC, the Wilma Project online here, if you have any questions. I want to get-
Good morning.
John or Ivo, you want to give us a quick overview of the project?
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I can do a quick overview. So this is a project we started working on a while ago, back in January 2020. The parcel is located on County Route 41 in the town of Wilna. It's almost 61-acre property. RIC has an option to purchase that property. So we started development back in 2020, went through the interconnection study process. We've already made the full interconnection deposit payments. Then in 2021, in April, we went through the special use permit process with the town of Vilna. So we've got a special use permit approved along with the secret native declaration. It was a requirement by the town to go through some additional coordination with Fort John, so we went through review with them as well. And ever since then, we've been working on one of the final milestones for us, which is obtaining a nationwide permit from U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and also water quality certification with DEC, the water quality certification we recently got. And I believe we're about a month away from finalizing the nationwide permit for working in wetlands. Otherwise, the project is designed with a single axis tracker array with bifacial photovoltaic modules. The total capacity of the project is 3 megawatts AC or 3.84 megawatts DC. The total area of disturbance that's designed right now is 21.21 acres. So that's going to be the total impact of the project. And yeah, I think that's more or less the high-level information. If you have any specific questions, I'm happy to answer.
Paul or Bill, have you guys looked at this and to the,
I just glanced over it. I don't-
Now, one question, they have asked, we haven't been doing sales tax exemption
Right.
for the solar products, so this one is asking that. So
Okay.
it'd be a question before you if you wanted to consider that. Most have not been requesting it. We only had one early on, we're gonna do something different.
I guess stupidly, what materials aren't already federally exempted? I mean, the concrete and some lumber, I mean, there can't be very much material that's not already federally exempted.
Well, state,
Our solar panels,
a lot of exempt.
they're completely exempted already.
Right, if you're using production, yes, they're exempt.
Okay. So I mean, what was the value of the, because there was nothing checked on the face, I mean, that's just, so I didn't really.
They listed total material as 3.2 million taxable.
Well, that's gotta be including the solar panels, which are exempt.
I don't know.
I mean, this is only a $5 million job, so I mean, I would think.
They
I
show,
would think, maybe that's a question, what materials are you looking for exemption on? What material value, gentlemen?
So my understanding of that, so Evo is the project development director, is involved in the project. I prepared the application for you, so questions on that I can address. My understanding for the tax is that at this state level, there's no exemption on like fences, roads, any of the materials.
Right, the auxiliary.
Relating to the solar project. And then the county level, even the solar equipment is also not exempt. It's exempt at the state level. So we have, I think, 8% tax on everything that's not solar equipment, and then 4% tax on the solar equipment that's included in that exemption request.
Okay. So I guess it's the county's portion of the PV panels, and then the state and the county's portion of everything else, fences, trees aren't.
No, I think on these
real
projects,
property.
anything using the generation is exempt under the sales tax. What you're referring to be exempt under the state, but not exempt from the county unless the county opted into that program. But
Bill, do you know, as chair of the county legislature?
I don't know.
I'll put you on the spot.
All I do know is that the county was not in favor of giving sales tax to these
Okay.
small solar projects.
Even
they've
on building
estimated,
materials?
they've estimated $258,890 for sales tax.
Yeah, because that's on a $3.2 million
Yeah.
graduated, can't speak today.
It's under.
Graduated, it sounds like. Hey, I'm from Utica. Leave me alone. We didn't get very good education there.
I can point you to the state regulation on that, but the stuff you use in generation, so the panels, the cable, that.
Well, I guess
The auxiliary stuff, fencing, roads, that is not exempt. under the
For
state.
today, Dave, we're only accepting the application, so we can debate that at the full board. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, we could just make an asterisk and debate,
Yep.
get clarity from council and the county what
Yep.
might not be exempt. And then look at that, and then as Bill's indicated, the county's position is they're not giving up their 4%. Is that, did you understand that part of the discussion, guys?
Audio's not great.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I've been on your end and you can't hear anything. I apologize. Today's purpose, we're a committee, so we're only accepting your application. So we'll do a little bit more research and due diligence on what might be not exempted and what the sales tax exemption might be. And then we'll debate that at the full board session. But we're just a committee to approve your application that is complete.
Okay, understood.
So I think I may have outlined this for you previously. So this moves to the full board September 1st, next Thursday, where they'll do a formal authorizing resolution. Basically authorizes us to proceed, to schedule a public hearing, to notify the taxing jurisdictions. After that public hearing, we then bring back the final, resolution. The board, barring any comments or any further negotiations, would then do final approval at the October board meeting.
Okay, yeah, I think it's important that we only requesting whatever sales tax abatement we actually could use, and that's been my understanding from working with some other counties, but I'd love to get your further view on it.
Hey, Paul Warnick, I'm not sure if you're still listening.
Muted.
Yeah.
His battery ran out in the car.
I'm here, Dave.
A question. Hey, a question for you. This project's considering owning the land, and I know that doesn't affect what the sales taxes are, but do we have to look at anything different when the developer actually owns the land? Because I think this might be the first time that's occurred. There was one on Military Road in Henderson, but
I think you have two separate companies, Rob. They have a real estate holding company, I believe. And
It all depends, for the valuation, the state new valuation model, if it's reinstated, has a different calculation when the land is owned by the solar facility versus if it's leased land. So I believe we're only going to exempt the facility, not the under.
Yeah, the land never figures into it.
Yeah,
I realize it.
21 acres.
Just more asking the question about, is there something we need to do or think differently?
That'll be done, in our calculations, if the state's valuation model is reinstated, it'll have a different set of calculations to come up with a full project value.
Okay.
But that's gonna affect more the assessment as it relates to the town assessor's responsibility. We'll be using it to make sure we're in that realm of where we wanna be based upon our UTEP.
And Lyle, based on the numbers that are on this form, and I know they're not final, they gotta go through kind of iterations, it's basically close to full taxation. It's 3% exempted. Or am I reading this wrong? The pilot is collecting 342, full taxes would collect 354. So it's basically a savings of $12,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I always have trouble
Yeah.
interpreting this. I don't know
No,
why.
no,
After 10 years, I should figure it out.
I increased the current taxes by 1%. I do a 13 or 14-year analysis of tax increases, and then I do a 5-year.
Okay.
And compare them. And for town of Wilna, 1% is probably the expected tax increase over 15 years. And you can see the numbers are very close together.
Yeah, as I was just
6%
asking,
exemption.
and this is based on our 5,500 megawatt. There's no battery storage here to
No.
consider.
Well, also there's a problem with the final assessment. I've done $1.2 million, and that's about $1 million for the project and $200,000 for the land at the $10,000 an acre that Roger recommends.
Yep.
So until we can get a good handle on the assessment, final assessment, a methodology or something that flies, we still have some questions.
Okay, and that'll work itself out.
Eventually, yeah. But I think for purposes of the final cost benefit analysis, which is right above that on page 32, it's still a benefit over cost of 60-1.
Yeah, no, I was only questioning from the applicant standpoint that this is basically nearing full taxation, but
Yeah,
a
it is.
pilot offers them certainty. Government does not. That's easy to say. All right.
You wanna send this to the board?
Yeah, and I think Dave, there were some questions in here that weren't fully answered about like community adders. And I don't want to go through all of this, but I know we'll have to collect some real data to do the full evaluation.
No, they did, yeah, but they do, they're not doing the community ad, they're doing, I think that's what they call
I can't find it now.
well, in terms of the investment community adder, John, that we talked about the difference between the community adder and what you are looking at, which is the, what do you call it, the inclusive community
I
adder.
couldn't find the damn thing now.
You want to explain that quickly, how that works?
Sure. The community adder is afforded to any projects that are part of the community solar program, the community distributed generation program. This project was in a strange window where there was no adder available at the time that it was eligible, and it missed the window. So we didn't receive that community adder, and we're no longer eligible for it. There was a period of a couple of months where it ran out, and when the new blocks were initiated in earlier this year, they didn't allow projects that were previously eligible after that, the previous block ran out to apply. So there's no community adder for this project. It's only a megawatt block, which is another, that sort of thing, just for being a project. The one for the community solar we did not get. The inclusive community solar adder is specifically to serve low and moderate income populations. And so that's sort of it's an incentive that we can receive if we agree to, it's 80% LMI subscribers, right?
Yeah, so we applied for a category that's between 60 and 80%.
So if we do that and we agree to do it, they'll monitor us. NYSERDA will receive that incentive payment only if we provide the service to low and moderate income people, which we plan to do. But I didn't include it as a true incentive because we're still sort of working that out to decide whether or not, if it's worth it to take that money or not.
That's on page 69. I knew it was under somewhere.
Whereas the community adder, if we had it, is guaranteed income to the project. You don't have to do anything special to get it other than participate in the program.
Dave, I'll make a motion to accept the application is complete, and there's obviously more collection of data we need. I'll move it to the full board and move at best possible speed.
And I'll second, I'll agree.
Okay,
So that goes to the board.
thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, guys.
John, I'll be in touch.
Okay, great.
L2 LLC, page 93. Morning, Corey.
Yeah,
Good morning. Kind of new at these, so be gentle.
We are,
Mike's not here, so
we
he's on
are,
vacation this
we
week.
are definitely gentle.
I will do the best I can to answer whatever questions I can.
Do we have a bigger version of that map? I should have printed it bigger. There's one or two questions I had.
Yes, I'll grab
I
it.
know we had the old one, but this has been corrected based on some of our feedback.
The only real difference between the old one and this one is push the park back.
Yeah, correct.
And it shows the actual setback.
And I couldn't read the number because again, I printed it so
Yeah,
freaking
it's 78
small.
feet is the setback. But Corey, maybe you want to start giving kind of overview.
Yeah,
of
go
what
ahead.
you're doing, why you're doing it, and I'll grab that drawing.
Well, I don't know where to start. I don't know how familiar you guys are with me or any of my companies, but we have 3 locations we're using right now for manufacturing of sheet metal, and first of all, we're a over 100 plus employee construction company. We have offices all over the state. We just closed an office in Virginia. We do a lot of military work. You guys may know that I was at a joint venture with Mark Purcell on Fort Drum since 2006 or 7. We had the original RRC contract, and then of course some MATACs and SATACs that we did in Region 1 for the Corps all over the Northeast. Over the last couple of decades, we've developed not just the HVAC company, which is where the company started in the 70s down in Rochester, but we now have a full-blown electrical. That is our one signatory division. At one time, we were the largest employer of Local 910. We also have we have a roofing division. We manufacture for Drexel, or UL ready to manufacture for Drexel Auto Products. Not all, a very large percentage, if not 90% of the roofs on Fort Drum are all Drexel. They're our product. With the electrical, plumbing, mechanical, HVAC, site utilities, there really is nothing that we don't do. The one thing that we were lacking, and when our MATACs ran their course, as DoD spending went down, And of course with COVID, we decided to pursue going bigger instead of going smaller, and I needed a metal building franchise. At that time, right around when COVID started, Mike Lundy, as all of you guys know very well, he was looking for an exit strategy for his career and wanted to get out of the building component, the building part. So over the last couple of years, him and I have negotiated and worked together, and we came up with a plan in conjunction with Blue Scope North America and Butler to create another LLC as a vehicle for him to get out of the construction and for me to take over his career buildership while Lundy Construction can continue to finish doing their jobs, obviously with no liability to DBI, which is our new company, Design Build Innovations. So with this growth model and projection with DBI and being able to fab walls, and to increase our production on other products that we already make, we don't have enough room. We're leasing a place up in Theresa for my mechanical guys to do some pre-fitting and assembly of some of the mechanical devices until we can get into specific areas of schools. Because as you guys know, there's limited space for swing space for these schools. So we have to get in and hit everything. So as much as we can prefab and get done before we get there, the better off we're going to be. We can only manufacture a handful of the parts and pieces in the HVAC sheet metal trade with the facility that we have. We're looking to make an investment into a spiral machine, a stitch welder machine, a handful of other plasma tables to cut and manufacture. Our roofing division is limited based on the space and what we can prefab to get ahead of these projects and do the fabrication required for the parts and pieces that we manufacture for Drexel. We're simply out of space. And bringing on DBI and with Mike's construction company going away in the next year or so, we need a place for DBI folks. So the idea was Mike has the property in the park. You guys obviously are familiar with it. From what I understand, he purchased it from this agency in early 2012 or 13, something like that. And we thought that it would be a good fit for a building that he has immediate access to, that we could get the initial 9,800 square foot structure up. We could build the office area at 5,000 square feet, which is about 20% larger than the combined office space that we have in our 3 locations. DBI could be in there. We're going to bring on a full-blown architect engineering team, draftsmen, additional clerical people, obviously, some additional accounting people. And then with the nearly 20,000 square foot manufacturing facility, we'll be able to put 3 or 4 more jobs in place back there and ultimately grow that to multi-shifts and doing that kind of thing. That's basically what we're doing. We're trying to consolidate all of our locations. And this is probably a good example. We are out of power at our Pamelia facility. We are using all 400 amps that were made available into Lawler Drive, the subdivision I put up in there back in 2010. When we get our coil stock in, it goes through our machine. We have to cut sheets, package them, load them, bring them to Sackett's, so I can use my automated brake in order to make different pieces of trim and trim angle for the sheet metal guys, and obviously drip edge and valley and those kinds of things that are programmed into the brake. I can't have it in both places because I just don't have enough power. So we have a 30,000 square foot facility in Lakeville. Obviously, we'd like to stay here. Mike has a presence here. Butler has a presence here, that whole program. This is a great opportunity for us, but obviously there's a significant price tag on it. These buildings aren't cheap right now. Regardless of our independent skill sets, it still doesn't make it necessarily palatable if we can't get some sort of relief. That's why we decided to come to you guys. And of course, Mike is very familiar with your program and how you guys operate. I have very little experience with the IDA. But Mike leading the charge on this, and after doing the pro forma and looking at the package and knowing what you guys need, we thought that this would be the best course of action to try this location first. So does that answer? Is that a pretty good general summation?
General context, and I think the application was, sales tax abatement, although it wasn't pilot, and then mortgage reporting and on sale. Okay, so all of that type of stuff, and that's what this is. I think when we did the pre-review, there was just, I guess, some comments about, so that's the old drawing.
Yeah.
Parking still in the wrong spot. So we kind of gave Dave's
The new ones move that back a
information
little bit.
to pass to your team.
And we've submitted updated.
No, you did.
Okay.
Just I printed it so damn small that I couldn't read some number, and I'm like, oh, there'll be plans at the meeting.
From what I understand, and I could have delivered another set. I was under the impression you'd have them, but
We probably do.
what we did was,
I just don't.
this is, I'm talking Mike here now. We moved the building back to 78 feet just to make sure that we cover any overhangs or eaves. There's nothing, I know we can't be any closer than 75 feet. If it's generally accepted to move it back to 80 feet, nobody's gonna lose any sleep over that. So
Yeah,
we're pretty flexible.
No, I think as long as you hit the bare minimums and the covenants, the park has had a lot of contention about covenants, and some follow, some don't, but we don't have to have that discussion. So, but new stuff, we definitely want
pretty
to follow
loose.
the rules, right?
Yeah, I'd have,
If you got 14 acres of land and you try to build everything close to a road that just doesn't follow the intent of being a good neighbor.
I understand
So that's all we're trying to do, be good stewards. We brought up the comment about the parking. It shouldn't pass the front building line that has been moved back, so that's cool.
on that note, if I may, one of the things that we show on the new drawings is on the westerly property line, the building is moving closer, it's moving easterly, and there's a row of parking along
Yeah, I
that.
can see that.
Okay, I just wanted to bring
No,
that up.
I mean,
because of
well, I have it wrong, it's just you can't read all the dimensions. Some of them
Gotcha.
are kind of clouded into the dotted lines and things. One question I may still have, and this is your property line, so this new access road is on lot 11, or is any of it encroach on lot 10?
that.
So this is 10, this is 11.
I can't answer that.
Okay.
Yes,
I think that's property line.
yeah, so, unless you.
On 11.
Yeah,
So
11, 10.
Right. And now that we have to do any action at the committee, this will be for board.
No, I was just more curious because
Yeah.
I thought originally, the original plan, it looked like it went up through the middle of the property that the easement was shared with both lots. Maybe that was just my bad interpretation of what it looked like initially.
That, I'm just not that intimately familiar with the
Okay.
layout of the land. That's a Mike thing. I know that, and our plan is for under L2, which is a company Mike and I now own together, is to develop both of those lots.
Okay.
So the infrastructure with regard to power and the stormwater and the non-permeables and the SWIP, all of those things have been considered previously, I'm being told. We intend to do the same. It may be advantageous to build both of those buildings at the same time for obvious reasons. And the building in lot 11, or the one east of what we're talking about, the lots would be, maintain the same ownership. And that building would be constructed for under spec. So,
Yeah, that does say property line right in the middle of the easement still.
I can't.
No, it was just a question I had, and it's your problem, not ours, but if that's the easement and say you were to sell lot 11 at some point in the future, you just got to deal with making sure you have access
to the driveway.
lot 10. Because it's your only road cut.
Understood. I'm sure Mike has that.
And it doesn't really affect a hell of a lot. I mean, people do that all the time.
Property line is up the center.
Yeah, I thought I remembered that from before, but I also thought that this was a road cut here. That I think that's utilities coming in. Anyway.
And procedurally, we're on target. The planning board expects to do their final negative declaration on secret.
Because you made a note, we ignore the 2014 Watertown.
They're doing a new one now.
They're doing their new one now.
Yeah, it'll be, by the time he gets us final approval, they'll be complete and done. So.
Okay. And I think Dave put in our notations to this committee and the board, we're only dealing with lot 10 right now.
Yes.
So lot 11 is not on our radar screen.
Okay.
It's not part of the pilot package. Is that your understanding as well?
It wasn't, but
Okay.
again, Mike is leading the charge on this.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he's not available. So I'm just not familiar.
So there's two things going on here. This committee, the pilot application is for lot 10.
Correct.
When they decide to go ahead, if they're going to build lot 11 building, they'll come to us for the pilot
Okay.
application for that building. Each building has to have a set of pilot.
And I think Dave brought up a point that as long as it's not a spec
Right.
building,
Well,
it's got to have it on use.
Well, the town of Watertown does not want to approve a general spec building, but the town of, so the second element of this, which will come to the board next week, is we have to review the building design for its compliance with the covenant.
For lot 10.
in this case for lot 10, 11, because right now, so
Yeah.
while they're only applying for a pilot for lot 10, for that building right now, they're doing a site plan review with the town for both plots.
Okay.
So in that case, the town is seeking our comment, do both plans.
And that's fair.
For, yep.
They may
Right.
choose to not come to us for a pilot for lot 11, they may choose to, the town may.
Right.
That sounds
choose-
accurate.
Right. And the town is approving that for future manufacturing use.
I just wanted to get, because I know you wrote a comment to us about some of that, and just to make clear what action we're gonna take. It's
Okay.
the sales tax exemption and all the stuff that you're seeking for lot 10
Lot 10.
building.
Copy.
Paul or Bill, I don't really have any other questions, Dave. See if anyone else does, or
I see that my comment would be that, looking at the layouts from the IDA standpoint, I believe both buildings comply with the covenants, so we should have no problem with those. And as far as the pilot, I mean, there's nothing better in our pilot than manufacturing.
Absolutely.
And especially if we're got a local manufacturer and he's gonna expand and keep the business here locally. I think it works great for what it was originally set for.
Fits the purpose intended.
The one other consideration you may want to bring, in the application process, it talks about the people that are physically going to be working in the building, administratively, truck drivers, maintenance guys, whatever. You got to keep in mind that the more of this that we're able to produce, the more we're going to be able to install.
Mhm.
So there is no projections for field staff. It's when we first started with the joint venture on Drum, we were 100 people. By the time we got into our third year, we were over 400, 380 something,
Yeah.
1 point over 400. The more that we can make, the more that we're going to install, the more work we can pursue, which means more field reps. There was no way to graphically or represent that in the book. So just food for thought. This isn't just manufacturing widgets, more widgets, and employing 2 or 3 people to ship more stuff out of state. This is local homegrown workers, giving them more opportunity.
Good stuff. Yep. I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete and move it to the full board for further
I agree.
discussion.
I agree. It goes to the full board.
And that's as easy as it is.
Cool. It's not like other places I've been.
No.
This will go to the board next week for an authorizing resolution. Again, we do a public hearing later in September.
Understood.
Then we bring back and we do final approval at the October 5th, first Thursday in October.
6th.
That'll be the final approval, then we work on closing the documents and move ahead.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Anything else, ladies and gentlemen?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, all of you, for your time. I appreciate it. Everybody online, thanks. Thanks, Paul.
He's on
It's
battery.
still here.
You are still here.
I'll see you guys later.
Take care.
And that's all on our agenda.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that one.
Okay.
Stand adjourned.
Both in favor.
Recording stopped.
Very easy.
Thanks, Steve.
Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay.